Welcome back. Social businesses often face challenges in attracting impact investment. One financial instrument we've been talking about on social business is the social impact bonds being introduced in the UK. And Peter Shergold, action's actually underway here in Australia now.
It is. Actually, last night, Sir Ronald Cohen was out here, had a talk about the introduction of social impact bonds into the United Kingdom and how they work. It was great timing because, as you probably saw about 2 weeks ago, Christina Keneally, Premier of New South Wales, has announced that New South Wales is working with the Centre for Social Impact on the development of a social impact bond here. To have Sir Ronald Cohen come out at this time was wonderful. And in fact, I got an interview with him we'll show in a future programme.
Excellent. And of course, if you're trying to build up a market for social investment, you need to be able to measure the impact. Earlier this year, one of the world's leading experts, Jeremy Nicholls, visited Australia. And again, Peter Shergold got the chance to chat with him. Just tell us a bit about his background, though, who he is.
OK. He is the CEO of Social Returns on Investment Network in the United Kingdom. And really, he's done a lot of the work on the Holy Grail, because if you're saying that you are now investing in social and environmental returns, the question is, how do you actually measure the returns you're getting? He's the expert on that. He was out in Australia, and I got a chance in his busy schedule to go and have a chat to him.
It does what it says on the tin, really. I mean, it looks at your social return on the investment. I guess that's a bit of a mouthful, but there's a bigger story and a challenge behind this. I suppose we all recognise that there are increasing social, environmental challenges in the world, and we're just not accounting for the effect of our activities.
In the private sector, I can understand how you can measure underlying profits or shareholder value. But, Jeremy, can you measure social, cultural, artistic, environmental outcomes in a similar sort of way?
Well, you can. At least you can start. The approach we've taken is based on a set of principles, very similar to the way that financial accounting was born and took 300 or 400 years to get to where it is now. We've said, what are the principles we should be applying if we're going to capture this, if we're going to understand the value that we're creating and sometimes destroying more effectively?
So, is this a process that organisations go through which can actually help them to focus on their mission?
Yes, it's the process, the clarity of thinking that gives. I'm also the director of a social enterprise in the UK called FRC Group, and we've been doing this kind of thing for a number of years now.
So hang on, what does FRC Group actually do?
We do bulky household waste services and refurnished homes, and provide long-term opportunities, long-term employment opportunities for people. And we also run a shop which recycles or resells some of the furniture.
This sounds like a great case study. So you've actually gone through and done an SROI analysis of the FRC Group.
Yes, well, as part of our overall reporting on the value that we create. We started small in some departments, and we've kind of expanded that over the whole organisation. And to start with, this was very much about clarity, getting our ability to say very clearly what kind of value we were creating. And that journey is now to the point where I think it's not only part of our ability to, say, we're changing people's lives, we can show you how, but also part of our competitiveness. We have conversations with commissioners now in which we're influencing contracting arrangements based on our ability to show clearly how we can deliver what they need.
So do you actually come to a number? With this organisation, do you know what your assessed return on investment is?
There's numbers behind the scenes, but to be honest, the importance is how that process allows us to be clear on the value that we are creating and how we can then communicate that. The number's there, but it's in some ways a full stop to our understanding. It provides us with a frame of reference. Where I'd like to get, as a board member internally, is the ability to forecast our value each year, set a budget, if you want, in the same way as we do our financial budget, and then as a board start to monitor our performance and the variances against that social value that we've said we'll create, in which the number effectively is a frame of reference itself.
I can understand how you measure the employment impact you have, but how do you measure those less tangible outcomes from FRC?
We'll come back to the employment perhaps, because it's not quite that as simple as it might seem on first look. The other values are about avoiding landfill and recycling and reusing materials that would otherwise go to landfill, and they are about the opportunities that people then have to buy low-cost furniture that they wouldn't perhaps otherwise be able to afford through the retail outlet.
All right, and why am I simplifying employment?
Because I think a lot of the time it's, this idea you can get somebody a job, that's the end of it. There's a lot more value there, potentially. people who have been unemployed for a long time gain a huge amount more value than the simple income from the job, if you want, from the ability to become an agent, be re-involved in their communities. And from the other flip side of that, there can be value destroyed. I know examples of situations where people have helped people get into work, but a bit later, not very long, they've lost that job. They perhaps weren't suitable. That's not great for the employer, and it's pretty disastrous for the individual, whilst at the same time the organisation can be going, look, we achieved our employment outcomes.
So this is great. So organisations or new programs or indeed corporate social responsibility programs that want to know, well, what good of return, how high a return are you getting on your value, you can now actually go through the process of doing this.
Yes. I mean, we're saying, if you can't answer the questions that are behind these principles, we'll be going, are you really sure you've created change? Have you made a difference?
Jeremy, you've been visiting Australia quite a lot over the last 3 years, sometimes as a guest of the Centre for Social Impact. Tell me, is there any intention that we can introduce SROI in Australia?
Certainly there is. We have members all over the world now, and the membership is growing quite fast. But there's a lot of interest here, and there are a lot of organisations working in this area, like PwC, Social Ventures Australia on one side, but also organisations on the ground, like Uniting Care, who are really taking this very seriously. And that's very inspiring. There's a membership list, a kind of mail list that's operating here, and I think over the next, few months, we'll see the levels of training and accreditation that we offer and a network growing here, and it's great.
Well, this is our last show before Christmas, and by Christmas Eve, Australians will have spent almost $40 billion on Christmas gifts and food. And if, well, like me, you always shop late, here's a tip. Go to the Pro Bono site and look at their ethical Christmas guide. Peter, tell us some of the ideas.
There's some good things. You can get a subscription to Big Issue, so you don't have to always buy it on the street. You can go and sponsor a animal at the Victoria Zoo. Opportunity International, we've just had Callum on. They are offering the chance that on someone's behalf you can give them a gift, for example, to provide a small loan to someone setting up a village farm in Indonesia. A range of opportunities. I've already received one gift, which was from Oxfam, which was a Christmas card saying, I have given a goat for a year to an Indonesian family. And I reckon that's a gift I'll remember.
I've never been able to say that before.
I think there's a message in the goat thing too.
Certainly. All right, and also, of course, you can have a look at any of the stories or anything you've seen on the show today on the websites. Just visit the Centre for Social Impact's website, csi.edu.au, or, of course, you can go to our own social business page on the Sky News business website.
And don't forget to follow CSI now on twitter.com/CSI Social Impact.
Thank you so much for joining us, and join us for the next program on Tuesday, January 11th.